Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Living Out of Darkness, a Rage Across New York. In this scene, we have Jacob Clay and Harvicar, both within the vicinity of the Bourne of the Sept of the Green, as Jacob has recently returned from an excursion into Washington Heights. His work coming to a close as he's been looking into a very, very significant case of missing persons and has come to cool down for an hour or two on the set.
As Jacob is more or less settling himself, returning back to the sept, Havika will come nearby, and as he finally when he takes notice of you, he will begin to rush towards you and stop after a certain distance, then show his throat.
Hey, Harvica, how's it going? Jacob just sort of, takes a deep breath and just for you to get up.
And he simply states, it's like, your kin mate is being a shit, as my father would say.
Who?
As he goes, Regis was being, let's just say, talkative. Luckily, I didn't have to suffer in his punishment, but it doesn't change the fact that it makes him look bad.
You got punished for what?
There's an incident at another sept. He was overly interested into it.
Okay. What's the subject?
Apparently, he wanted to assist with this investigation of this other sept. The Den Father told him no, yet he continued. And the Den Father, at that point, told him no again, in further irritation. He then responded that I am a ragabash and this is what I do. And then the Den Father said, well, you're doing it wrong, and forced him to do some digging.
Hmm. Yeah, being a ragabash is kind of walking a thin line, and everybody has their ideas on what they should and shouldn't say. This kind of makes it kind of hard to be one.
I suppose so.
I mean, I have met a ragabash who genuinely did do it wrong and was just a resentful, hateful person, but, there you go.
I didn't deal with much ragabashes on my mother's sept nor my father's, so I couldn't really have much of an opinion. I just know that we're Cubs, and his interest was overzealous, to say the least. What did he really expect to do?
Make a point. It's normally what ragabashes do.
A point of what? That he's trying to go for something bigger than his station?
Hmm. Oh, no, I wasn't there. It looks like Denfather's got it under control, which is good.
For the most part. He told me that he wanted more information about the incident because he thought he deserved to know.
What did the incident entail? You said this is from another sept, right?
Yeah, Florida.
Oh, sorry, what sept?
Probably could just say that it's someplace in Florida, but he thinks for a moment to remember the actual name. And let's see. The Sunrise Birds. Apparently, there was a messenger that came here from there.
Interesting.
Something apparently happened.
I'll ask about that. Wonder why he's so interested.
I don't know.
Could just be good intentions gone wrong. I mean, he wouldn't be the first cub. Certainly
No.
wouldn't be the last. I mean, and as I told you, I mean, good time to make mistakes. Learn your boundaries.
Yeah, but... And he hesitates for a moment, then he continues talking. There might be a minor tension between us.
I mean, that much was obvious from when you first met.
Yes, it was. But I would rather not it to escalate where we have to go into violence.
Well, no, I mean, neither of you seem like particularly violent people, and I mean, you're both fairly measured in regards to what your auspices allow for.
Mm.
Why? Did something happen which has caused things to deteriorate, or?
Nothing of real note. He just said something that didn't go well with me, and I had words with him.
What was that?
He lets his alpha status get to his head.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
Mm.
What did he say though?
And he looks away, mild blush on his face. He was boasting of his skills and stated that I was a coward and I should stand behind him.
Wait, did he actually call you a coward?
He implied it.
Hmm.
And my response to him, since he's already proven himself to be overzealous, is with his actions, he's going to get himself killed or maimed. And then he insinuated that I would do something to him. My retort was, with his actions, I don't really have to. So he assumes I wish him harm.
To be fair, well, what he said was perhaps, well, I mean, it was definitely a bit patronizing. I mean, the response probably wasn't the best either.
It's not like he's a person of higher station, and he's not like I can assume he's skilled like an Arun. So him thinking that he can speak that way to me is
I mean,
unnecessary.
he is above you in station. He's your alpha according to the Den Father and according to the challenge I ran. That's just the way of things right now. If you wanna change that, you can re-challenge after a certain point. Well,
We're
actually,
not.
no, that's the Den Father's running that show, so I'm gonna let him run that.
It's not like we're in an actual pack. I don't even understand why we need to even give him that kind of title.
Well, I mean, you're talking about acting above station and people, Regis acting and making decisions that aren't his to make. I mean, that isn't yours either. This was a challenge sanctioned. That was when he became alpha. It was a challenge sanctioned by me, witnessed by the Den Father, and actively encouraged by the Den Father. And the results of that challenge are to be enforced by me and by the Den Father. Because, you're a cub and he's the Den Father, so he has to take responsibility for you. And I'm the master of challenges, so I'm expected to follow through and enforce any challenges I actually sanction. I mean, it's not. I'm not going to pretend like it's like, yeah, you don't like the guy that's in charge. I mean, welcome to the world of Garu. A lot of us don't like the guy in charge. I've had plenty of people who I thought were who I've met who I think that guy doesn't deserve to be in power at all. That guy's a fucking asshole. Like, I've been there. I remember I didn't even grow out of that when I was a Cleof. I mean, I never really grew out of it to be honest. I just rose through the ranks and eventually I became the guy in charge. I just made the change I wanted to see. It's a. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's gonna feel a lot slower than it should be, and you're gonna feel right now like you have, like there's really nothing there for you. But once you find yourself on your feet, and once you start getting some renown as a Cleef, and maybe find an opportunity for yourself to rise to Foster, and you'll find that begins to change over time. It's as much a waiting game as it is one of, well, merit.
I don't mind the waiting. I don't want to do anything or more or less that I'm a problem, nor want to keep insinuating my behavior from the room about me.
As for Regis, to be honest, he actually sounds a little bit like me when I was a cub. Do you want to know what my challenge was to become Cleef as Silverfang?
And he looked blankly, and he just simply said, "No."
It was to lead the rest of the Cubs on a mission as a pack, and none of them could challenge me, like my word. They couldn't disobey me. I had to ensure that they all remained in line the entire time. That was not easy. That was very hard, because one of those Garu was a cub who was a lupus who was a lot stronger than I was at the time. Now, whether that's true now is debatable, particularly since I have certain advantages. But the simple fact is that that person could have probably walked over me if they really wanted to. And I had to play diplomacy rather than force my word. But I know initially when I tried playing Alpha before that challenge, and even a little bit after it, ultimately it came down to me trying too hard and trying to force the role upon myself, which is a mistake. And to be honest, I think it's one a lot of not just Silverfangs but Gara in general make. When he told you to get behind him, he was probably acting with good intentions. He probably thought that as the appointed alpha, he had to take responsibility for you, wanted to keep you safe. Of course, as you said, the notion implies you can't look after yourself, which you can, I assume.
Havika's face kind of screwed up, and I guess disappointment, but he up. You give him a lot of credit.
I'm just going off of what my experiences are as a cub. I mean, fuck, people said the same thing about me. Like what you're saying to him now is, similar things that people said about me, and a lot of people weren't happy about me kind of forcing myself into this position. I remember I beat Fenrir at a stare down as my first challenge when I was a cub, and she was not happy at all.
I just want to do the job correctly, and I don't want to repeat any actions that may get me in trouble here.
That's fair. I mean, it doesn't really seem like you're in a lot of trouble right now. It seems like Regis is the one taking the heat, so I don't think you have to worry about that.
Give it time.
That's fair. You're a cub.
And what am I really supposed to be doing here? I do mainly just physical training.
I'm actually I'm going to be making a howl later on this evening. about that, because there are some things, some tasks that really, some roles that have not been fulfilled at all within a sept, and it has been causing us problems that have now escalated to become a major issue. So I'll be making a deal out of that. And I might go up to the Den Father and ask if the Cubs can take part, because it's a fairly simple set of tasks that I think all of you can do, and it is fairly important to the Sept's day-to-day operations. So
He nodded.
I mean, it's not glorious. It's kind of more chores for you, to be honest, but it's a different set of chores. So job rotation, right? Keep things interesting.
He knows. And he just simply says, I volunteered myself for guard duty.
That's good. Can't go wrong there.
And I know only, but I'm working on some, right? But what really should be focusing on?
Well, you're a Philodox, so focusing on the law, how to apply it, and getting along with others.
And again, he comes up at the last part. Am I supposed to? Well, I'm supposed to defer on the litany and judgments. What happened if you're not here?
If I'm not here, there are other Philodoxes. If not, then you'll just need to stall. I mean, it's not like people are going to be coming up to you and asking you for a judgment on something. As a cub, that's not really your call. What you do get to do, though, is sit in on the sessions, as it were, on the rulings and such. So you don't get a part in decision making until you're a clear, and even then, like myself, for example, like when it comes to challenges and adjudicating them, that's pretty much all me, regardless of what rank you'll be. As long as I'm the master of challenges, I run the challenges. That is my part. Doesn't you could be an Adrian Philodox or whatever. You could even be higher than that, but as master of challenges of the sept, that sort of area, that subject area that Philodoxes handle is something I have a final say on.
He nods to that.
As for other stuff, well, I hope you won't have to make too many rulings, because usually that means people aren't making mistakes and fucking up. The thing with being a Philodox is that it's a somewhat reactive role. You consider other auspices. Fjord, for example, will be going out of their way to make deals with spirits. They'll be making talons, fetishes. They'll be making sure the spirits of the sept are pleased. They know what they're supposed to do. They have a set of, they have a routine. They have their own little projects that they'll go out of their way to do. Our runes, they'll go out on missions. If there's not an enemy in front of them, they'll go find it. Philodoxes, on the other hand, are a little bit more. Well, we have to react to what other people do half the time. When we're enforcing the law, it's usually because someone's broken it. When we're engaging in diplomacy with others, it's usually because there's been a diplomatic incident which has caused us to get involved in diplomacy to begin with. And when it comes to adjudicating challenges, well, somebody had to challenge another guy, which means we have to get involved. So A lot of what we do just involves reacting to other people.
Again, he scrunches up with that. And he just says, "Like that."
Oh, you like that or you don't like that?
No,
Or you like that again? You don't like that?
like that.
I'm gonna assume you said you don't like that because for whatever reason you keep lagging on the do or don't, and it's really frustrating. God
Wait,
damn it, Hangouts.
there we go.
There we go. Yeah, I thought it was that one. Um, well, it is your role. I mean, unless you want to change it, there is a right for it, but frankly, I wouldn't go changing your divinely ordained role in society unless you had a very, very good reason for doing so. I mean, I consider myself a pretty hardcore progressive Garu, and even I'm a bit sketchy about changing one's auspice through renunciation. In part because, unlike human religions, there's a lot of truth to how our auspices work. It is literally preordained. Not suggesting that you would, but yeah, getting along with people is just something you'll have to. It's just something you'll have to learn. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to like people. I remember the prior fucking one of the wormfoes of this set was a Fiana. Fucking hated him. He was that hateful, resentful piece of shit I was talking about earlier. Very not a good person. Liked brainwashing Mattis into making him feel bad after he abused him physically. He was a piece of shit. But I still had to deal with him. So I did. We did have a couple of incidents between each other, but other than two, we largely got along. Which I think was actually somewhat impressive, considering I would consider that guy a straight up more or less a fascist. Like, not in human terms, but in base ideology. The basically the same outlook of superiority and supremacy.
He knows that.
I do not have kind words for that person, but I still had to deal with them. Because, I mean, I had to one, when I had to get involved in diplomacy and legislating law, like the Kinfolk Rights Bill, because several Garo, including that Garo, wanted a say in that. And two, because it's if shit goes down with this person, I have to be able to at least maintain some semblance of impartiality.
I will try to do my best, Raya.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you need any advice or help on it or anything, like, you know who to talk to.
Try.
I've dealt with a weird amount of bullshit, and I've only been here for a few years. Granted, I massively regret one of them, which was the crucifixion of a menace. Didn't kill the menace, but I got swept up in. I got manipulated, and I feel pretty resentful about that. And I allowed that manipulation to affect my judgment in a way I feel was unjustified. But hindsight's 2020.
He good. I'll keep your my.
You seem to be lagging really heavily, like you're cutting out every second or third word.
Wait, here. Give me one moment. How do I sound now?
Much better.
Okay.
If there were two base rules I would give for any real Philodox, one is treat everything on a case-by-case basis, and two, remember to stick by your precedents. If you set a precedent for something, do what you can to keep to it. Try to maintain that internal consistency. Because hypocrisy is a real killer. And we can't always avoid it. I'll be the first to admit, I mean, I'm a hypocrite in ideology when it comes to how I view humanity in relation to the world. But I still stood by my precedents where I've been able to. Sometimes you literally won't have a choice, and you just won't have a choice. You'll just have to do what you have to. But when you can, you stick by what you said has happened or what will happen. You stick by your judgments, you stick by your word. Fairly simple, not easy to abide by, but it's a simple enough work ethic.
Yes, right.
I'd also take a look at the litany. Not to, I mean, I know you probably know what the litany is at this point, but take a look at it in a sense that find out what you want it, find out what you interpret it as. Because the litany is a very loose piece of law meant to be interpreted in many ways. It's meant to be flexible, which is why I say look at everything on a case-by-case basis. Doesn't mean abuse its spirit, but stick by the spirit of the law rather than its word. Hell, even the mortals figured that one out despite all evidence to the contrary.
All right.
But yeah. Case by case and precedent. Two biggest things I can really tell you, teacher, or however you're interpreting this conversation.
Words at heart, Raya.
Oh, pardon?
I will take your words to heart, Raya.
Yeah, I'm sure you figured out at this point I have a lot of them. I've been told I'm long-winded. I don't disagree.
We don't focus on that too much.
Oh, pardon?
So I don't typically focus on that too much.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta say something simple with 1,000 words. Sometimes you can sum it up in 5. Depends on the situation, I guess.
And he nods. Well, I will allow you to do your howl, Raya. I will be there.
No, you'll hear it. As long as you're in the Umbra, at least.
Yes, Raya.
I've got I am not happy with what my kin are going to have to do. And that makes me pretty pissed off with the rest of the sept.
He's just do what you can.
Yep. Oh, actually, before I forget, because I did mention it, remember to get a look in of the kinfolk rights bill, because you'll need to be enforcing that as well.
And that he will look a little confused, but not to.
It's it's a law that was introduced. It's a sept law that was introduced by William White, the current Alpha of the Sept of the Sentinel, and myself. It ties into the litany in 1 moment. Actually, get up the page. Respecting those beneath you. It basically outlines what kinfolk are and are not obligated to do, and how they're expected to be treated on the sept.
He nods, again, a bit confused. If it's what I must do, I will do so.
It's important. It's something. It's something that's very important to the Gara and the kinfolk of this set. So I definitely argue making yourself familiar with it, because it will become relevant here. Might be a weird concept, but it works. And I think it's a step in the right direction for the nation as a whole, to be honest.
If it keeps things going smoothly, I will abide.
It's not always about things going smoothly.
And he, again, gives a little bit of a confused face.
Sometimes it's just about doing the right thing regardless of the backlash. I mean, funny enough, this law passed pretty easily, if only because we made it in such a way that anyone who opposed it would look like an asshole and would lose all support. But kinfolk were being mistreated for a very long time. That's why this law was created. So yeah, and if you need a copy, I got one. I've always got a paper copy lying around, specifically so I can refer to it when I need to. So I'll get you one of those, and you can make yourself familiar with that. And other than that, I mean, just, yeah, case by case precedent, and just think about how the litany can be applied and how you interpret it. And that, don't really have anything more to say. And yeah, as you said, I mean, I'll go and make my howl. It was a pleasure seeing you, though. I haven't had a conversation in a long while. To be honest, I intended to catch you sooner, and you ended up catching me.
Well, I'm glad that I could be of service, Raya.
Don't worry about it. Feel free to call on me if anything confuses you or there's an incident. As for Regis, yeah, he probably sounds and acts like a dick. His heart is probably in the right place. He's probably just trying to force himself into a position he's not really ready for yet.
Yes, Raya.
So, I'm not saying go easy on him per se, but just try to keep that in mind when dealing with him. I'll have a word with him about it and see if I can make things easier between you.
I don't think that will be necessary, but I appreciate it.
Hmm. He wants to be part of a tribe of leaders. He's gonna have to learn how to be a good one. May as well learn from the agent of that very tribe, right?
Yeah, try.
Anywho, I'll see you later. Nice chat. And he kind of
And
smirks and with a very abrupt nice chat. Bye. Ah. As he'll just kind of walk off and wave for a little bit before kind of just heading, before turning around completely and walking away.
he will just nod, and then he will just more or less kind of stand there, like waiting for you to howl and move to your king.
Yeah.
So
The howl will be on Facebook, so we won't need to run the scene for that any longer. So I think with that, thank you, player, for playing. Thank you, watcher, for watching, and we'll see you all next time.